Do you ever think about how each time there's a new Pokemon type announced, they always retroactively retype a few Pokemon? Most of the time it makes sense, giving Togepi the Fairy typing or Magnemite and Magneton the Steel type, except they didn't actually get every new type. Hello and welcome to Coach Max Entertainment, where you never know what kind of upload you're gonna get. Except about 79% of the time, it's probably gonna be a Pokemon video. When Generation 2 released and they made the Steel and Dark type Pokemon, 2 Pokemon gained a Steel type, Magnemite and Magneton, but nothing gained the Dark type. This isn't a huge thing to deal with, but it's a little weird that they retroactively gave a typing to 2 Pokemon that already existed, and didn't do that with the other brand new type. So today let's talk about a few Kanto Pokemon that I think could have benefited from getting the Dark type. This list was made by myself, McLovin, and I even asked my wife for her input on a few of these Pokemon. And I want to tell y'all some of her word-for-word examples of why they should be dark. It's pretty good. Let's start with the first one I thought off on the list, Gyarados. First of all, this one technically has gotten the Dark type whenever it got its Mega Evolution in Gen 6. And I know that it should really be part Dragon because of the whole Chinese mythical fish type thing, but we're here for Dark types today. Everything about Gyarados talks about how angry and ferocious it is. In each Gen 1 game, it has a unique Pokédex. In Red and Blue, Yellow, and the Pokemon Stadium game, each Pokédex entry uses the word vicious. I feel like they were trying to, hint at something here. It just makes sense to me that Gyarados would be a Dark type. With Magikarp having all that pent-up aggression, it just totally makes sense. Gyarados always has Bite or Crunch on it, and with those massive jaws, I wouldn't want to be a Psychic type on the other side of that. The second one I thought of was Marowak, and that might need a little bit of explanation, but for those of you that are on the same wavelength as me, 1, I am so sorry, and 2, you just probably know the direction that I'm going with this one. For starters, the Yellow Pokédex entry has our word of the day, Vicious, in it, and the Stadium entry has Aggressive, so that's pretty much the same thing. The real reason I thought of Marowak as a Dark type is because of the ghost inside the Lavender Tower. Yes, that's a ghost, and it gets its ghost typing with its Alolan form, but still, with those angry anime eyes, you've gotta see it as a Dark type. Add in the sad backstory of a Cubone wearing its deceased mother's skull, and you've got all the ingredients for a Dark type right here. Here's one that my friend McLovin thought of, and when I asked him about this list, it was the very first thing that came to his mind. Mewtwo. You may be thinking that's way too big of a Pokemon to add a Dark type to, especially since it's already Psychic, but I've come up with a few good reasons for this. One of them is totally cheesy, the other one is actually legitimate. First, Mewtwo was created by humans, and at the end of the day, aren't we the most evil thing wrought upon this world? But seriously, Mewtwo is portrayed as super angry and aggressive in the first movie when it's created, and I promise you I didn't plan this, but Pokemon Stadium entry? Vicious, right there. Second, wouldn't Dark and Psychic be way too overpowered of a type combination? Kinda. Fighting wouldn't be able to do much, but the other weakness that Dark type has would be a great thing to use against it. Bug types. And Fairy, but that doesn't exist yet, so just hang on to that. In Gen 1, Bug types were not that great, but in Gen 2, they added 2 new attacking moves that can do great things. 1 being Fury Cutter, which is okay, and 2 being the all-powerful Mega Horn. Get one of those moves on a Heracross or a Scizor, and you've got a pretty viable counter to this newly dark legendary. Now I want to tell you what my wife said about these evil and dark Pokemon. I gave her my laptop with a picture of every Pokemon from Gen 1 and just asked her to tell me what she thought would be evil. And some of them are great. Machamp. Her words, Machamp looks like one of those evil bodybuilder type people. Gigantamax Machamp sure doesn't look friendly, so maybe she's onto something there. Hitmonlee. I asked her why Hitmonlee and not Hitmonchan. Her words, Hitmonchan looks like the Karate Kid. Hitmonlee looks like a demon. Hard to argue with that. Back to more in-depth descriptions, Arbok could totally be part Dark type. Unfortunately, none of its Gen 1 Pokédex entries use the word vicious, but it uses the word ferocious, and that's a descriptor that's just close enough. Also, snakes are terrifying. I had this zoo book as a kid that it was about snakes, and it terrified me. Even though I knew they were just on paper, not actual snakes, it terrified me. I put it in a bookshelf and like shoved it to the back corner. I don't like snakes. Arbok is another candidate that has bite and crunch typically, and it would lose its psychic weakness here too. Sure, ground types would still mess it up pretty good, but this could give Arbok a little bit of competitive viability that it probably really needs. Basically all the Pokemon my wife suggested were the ones with dark eyes. Kabutops, Amistar, Cloyster, Tangela. Can you imagine Tangela as a dark type? Fearow is another one that McLovin suggested, and I think we can all figure out why. It's tired of people liking Pidgeot more. Plain and simple as that. Seriously though, it has the word fear in its name. That's a good enough reason for me right there. I couldn't find anything interesting from the Pokédex entries. In fact, take a look at this one from Pokemon Stadium. A Pokemon that enjoys flying. It uses its broad wings to adroitly catch the wind to soar elegantly into the sky. That's surprisingly poetic. I certainly did not expect that from Fearow. I don't even know what the word adroitly means. Persian and Muck definitely came to mind while I was making this list, but they both got dark types added to them whenever they had their Alolan forms introduced, so it's almost kind of like the Pokemon Company was just realizing that they should have done this a while back. We're going to close out with Primate. This is one Pokemon that is probably even more famous than Gyarados for being angry. We don't get Vicious in its Pokédex entry, but we do get Furious and even Tenacious. That is a sick descriptor right there. Primate is another Pokemon that would lose its psychic weakness and only gain from getting this type added to it. There's a few other Kanto Pokemon we could have added to the list. Zapdos sure looks angry, but I don't think we needed that. Are there any other Kanto Pokemon that we probably should have added to the list? Or am I a complete buffoon for even thinking some of these could have been? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, the only other Gen 1 Pokemon that I could possibly think of getting another Steel type would be Porygon, but even then, that really should have the Electric type added to it. So, there you go. Don't expect a video on Steel types. Make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates. I'm also on Twitter at CoachMaxYouTube, all one word. And don't forget our word of the day, vicious. Until next time, see you later.